Hello, 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 hello. Hi guys, my name is Zanny from CV, but special and cool people like yourself get to call me King Zanny. Now I know most of you guys are freaking out because you're writing on Monday and it seems like chapter 3 and 4 are quite a lot to stomach in such a short period of time. And most of you actually missed a week of tutorials because my partner Neuron was away making boss moves, but fear not because your girls got you covered. I just need you to do yourself one huge favor, log on to ClickUp, go to SLK 120, click on Learning Communities, and of course, choose Neuron and Zanenhle. This is where we'll be posting a whole lot of tests, memos, assignments, and we'll be discussing all things psychology. Okay, so it's important that you guys take responsibility for your learning, and we'll just help as much as we possibly can. Okay, so I'm here to summarize both chapter 3 and 4 so you can get everything sponged up and then you can just ace your test on Monday, okay? So chapter 3 is all about the biology of behavior. Here we're trying to understand communication in the nervous system. Now, frontal areas of the brain are associated with behavioral regulation, inhibition, as well as planning functions. The human nervous system also adapts to and changes with life experiences. What is this nervous system we talk about, you wonder? Okay, so basically the nervous system can be simply defined as a complex communication network where signals are transmitted, received, and integrated. Of course, we have special cells and structures that are responsible for this process, namely your neurons, which are individual cells in the nervous system that receive, integrate, as well as transmit information. They consist of a soma, also known as a body, which contains the nucleus and most other structures common to most cells. We also have dendrites, which are parts of a neuron, specialized to receive information. Your axons are long, thin fibers that transmit signals away from the soma to other neurons or to other muscles or glands, while your myelin sheath acts as an insulating material and accelerates the transmission of signals that move along the axon. Your terminal buttons, on the other hand, are small knobs that secrete chemicals called neurotransmitters, while your synapse or synapse, remember there is no master of pronunciation, but it's important to get the spelling right. Your synapse is a junction where information is transmitted from one neuron to the next. Okay guys, please be able to draw and label your neuron as well as tell us the functions and responsibilities of each and every structure. Moving on to your glia cells, which are found throughout the nervous system and provide support to the neurons. These occur in abundance and are much smaller than the neurons. They also contribute to the development of the nervous system in the human embryo and play a key role in memory formation and the experience of chronic pain. Okay, now the neural impulse, which freaks everybody out, but is actually really simple. Just listen and follow and relax. Okay, so the neural impulse is a complex electrochemical reaction. Note that both inside and outside of the neuron are fluids containing electrically charged atoms and molecules called ions. Positively charged sodium and potassium ions, as well as negatively charged chloride ions, flow back and forth across the cell membrane but do not cross at the same rate. Guys, please note that the resting potential of a neuron is its stable negative charge when the cell is inactive, and this is negative 70 millivolts. Right, so when the neuron is stimulated or activated, channels in its cell membrane open up, allowing positively charged sodium ions to rush in. And when an action potential occurs, this is a shift rather, in a neuron's electrical charge that travels along the axon. After having fired, the channels in the cell membrane then close up. So your absolute refractory period is the minimum length of time after an action potential during which another action potential cannot occur or begin. And then your relative refractory period is when a neuron can fire, but its threshold for firing is elevated. Guys, please note that a neural impulse is an all or none proposition, meaning it either fires or it does not. It either occurs or it does not. Okay, then your synapse is where your neurons meet but do not touch because they are separated by a synaptic cleft. This is a microscopic gap between the terminal button of one neuron and the cell membrane of another neuron. The neuron that sends a signal across the gap is called a presynaptic neuron, while that which receives the information is called a postsynaptic neuron. Okay, so the arrival of an action potential at the terminal buttons of a neuron triggers the release of neurotransmitters, which is stored in small sacs called synaptic vesicles. Know your terms and definitions, guys. So two types of messages can be sent from one cell to the next, namely your excitatory and inhibitory messages. Neurotransmitters then drift away from the receptor sites and they are reabsorbed into the presynaptic neuron. The reuptake, which is a process in which neurotransmitters are sponged up from the synaptic cleft by the presynaptic membrane. Now, synaptic pruning is basically the elimination of old or less active synapses. Looking at neurotransmitters and behavior, you just need to note that neurotransmitters are very important because they play a role when it comes to muscle movement, moods, as well as mental health. Okay, so the first one we look at is acetylcholine or acetylcholine. Like I mentioned, no master of pronunciation, but get the spelling right. Okay, this is the only transmitter between motor neurons and voluntary muscles. It contributes to attention, arousal, and memory, and it can be fooled by other substances such as nicotine, which acts like it and bind to its receptor sites. So nicotine can be called an agonist. What is an agonist? This is a chemical that mimics the action of a neurotransmitter, whereas an antagonist is a chemical that opposes the action of a neurotransmitter as it binds to its receptors but fails to produce a postsynaptic potential. Okay, looking at monoamines, we look at dopamine first, which is used by neurons that control voluntary movements, guys, while your serotonin, neurons that release this particular monoamine, regulate sleep, wakefulness, and eating behavior. Therefore, when we look at eating disorders, there should be, or there's likely to be, a disruption in serotonin levels, okay? They are also believed to modulate aggression in both animals and human beings. Okay, so the dopamine hypothesis asserts that abnormal activity at dopamine synapses plays a role in the development of schizophrenia. Okay, and then looking at your amino acids, we look at your GABA and your glutamate. Your GABA is the only one that produces inhibitory, or rather only produces inhibitory postsynaptic potentials, while your glutamate has excitatory effects and contributes to learning and memory. So I believe that your glutamate is active right now as you watch this video, okay? And then when we move on to the organization and characteristics of the nervous system, this will be in the following video. So stay tuned and just learn, okay? Slay all day.